Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Morell. Thank you again for being here.
Welcome.
For your years of service to the CIA. I want to try to understand better the deputies meeting on the 15th and your subsequent edits to the talking points. Were you all having daily deputies meetings at this time?
Yes, sir. We were having twice daily deputies meetings.
So twice a day on the 13th, on the 14th, on the 15th, you would have these video conference meetings in which you participated as the deputy for the CIA.
That's correct.
And I presume there would be a deputy from State and Defense, as well as members of the White House National Security Council staff.
FBI, DOJ, NCTC, yes, sir.
Okay. So as we reviewed the emails of the night of the, well, let me back up for just a second. I'm sorry. As best you remember, the deputies meetings, the two deputies meetings on the 14th, I presume Benghazi had to be a major issue that y'all discussed.
It was not, sir. It was not a major issue. We were not looking backwards at that point. We were looking forward. So the focus of all of these deputies meetings, particularly the ones on Saturday and Sunday, Susan Rice was on the Sunday shows. I was at a deputies meeting.
Yeah.
The focus of those was on keeping Americans safe in all the places in the world where there were continuing protests and demonstrations. So we were not looking backwards at what happened in Benghazi. We were looking forward on how do we keep Americans safe.
Okay, so which is interesting to me. So even on the 14th, the basic tenor of the meetings was we got the Americans out, so we're not going to worry about Libya anymore.
It's not that we weren't going about Libya. We were still very worried about Tripoli,
okay,
where we still had Americans, but we were not focused on Benghazi because we were focused on keeping Americans safe going forward.
Okay. And on the two meetings on the 14th, do you remember the talking points ever coming up there?
On the 14th, no, I do not remember that.
Okay. As I go and look at the emails, as of 9-10 o'clock at the night of the 14th, it looks like FBI has signed off. The talking points have been edited to reflect the State Department concerns, although it doesn't say they've signed off. So I'm not clear why did you have conversations after 10 o'clock at night from the State Department that said we're still not happy?
No, sir.
So as of 10 o'clock at night, there's this email that says, okay, we've made these changes, FBI's okay, can we go ahead and send them? And there was a brief answer back that said no. What time was your deputies meeting the next morning?
I believe it was 8 a.m. I believe it was 8 a.m.
Okay, and did you have conversations with State Department folks or emails from State Department folks that morning before the deputies meeting that said, we're still not happy with these talking points?
No, sir, but as I said earlier, my executive assistant told me that State Department was not happy with the talking points.
And that the night of the 14th or the morning of the 15th?
The morning of the 15th.
Okay, as you're going to or as you're preparing for this deputy?
As I arrived at work.
Okay. I guess, and you've already testified today that they never came up at the deputies meeting, the talking points didn't until you brought them up.
Correct.
It was not part of the agenda, even though the National Security Council staff had been the ones to suggest bringing them up at that deputies meeting.
Correct.
Yeah. I guess what I'm puzzled by is, as you look at that, the edits that you made that were on that chart, you take out most of the words, basically, that are in the talking points. And even though the FBI is okay with them, you take out words because you're afraid they'll damage the FBI investigation. You take out everything that's even related to warnings and a bunch of other stuff too. To me, it seems like you're more interested in protecting the State Department than the State Department is, and more interested in protecting the FBI than the FBI is. And Director Petraeus is concerned because he wanted some more information about warnings in there. So that doesn't make sense to me. Can you explain the motivation?
As I said earlier, first of all, if you look at what I took out, the vast majority is information related to the warnings. And as I said earlier, I thought it inappropriate for the CIA to say publicly that we warned of an attack coming. And we also had in there that we had sent a warning cable to Cairo which I see absolutely no relevance of sending a warning cable to Cairo to what happened in Benghazi. But I simply saw this as a way for CIA to pound its chest and say, look, we warned, therefore laying all the blame on the State Department. I did not think that appropriate. I thought that there would be plenty of time to have a conversation about what was warned and who responded and how, and I didn't think that that discussion should start publicly.
Okay,
that was the judgment I made at the time.
Let me ask you about one other sentence. It says, the wide availability of weapons and experienced fighters in Libya almost certainly contributed to the lethality of the attacks. That doesn't have anything to do with warnings. It's just a statement of fact.
I saw it as speculative. I saw it as totally speculative. We didn't know that the attackers had any specific training. We just didn't know at that point. So I saw it as speculative. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was helpful. And I'm not saying I made all the right decisions in each one of these cases, but that's why I made the decision.
Yeah, it's just such a drastic change from what had been going on for 2 days through the process. That's why I've been puzzled by the changes you make that seemingly are more protective of other agencies than even those other agencies are. But I thank you for your responses.